Okay, so good morning. Sutra Book 3, number 47. Beauty, grace, strength, adamantine hardness, and robustness constitute bodily perfection. So Carrera's translation says, the bodily perfection mentioned in this and the previous sutra is the result of the samyaya that brings mastery over the gross and subtle elements. The practice of yoga increase, refine, and harmonize the functioning of prana in the body. Each cell becomes charged with powerful spiritual vibrations and operates at optimal efficiency. In light of this, we might wonder why some great yogis have suffered from physical ailments. What we see as physical ailments are residual karmas that are being allowed to manifest from a time prior to self-realization. Great yogis experience that they are not their body. They may fulfill their duty to the body by trying various treatments while remembering that the body is composed of the elements of Prakriti and that whatever is composed of elements will one day dissolve back into those elements. They understand that nature will take its inevitable course and they accept their physical trials as God's will. Their minds remain at peace.
It's interesting what you just read. When you read the first thing, beauty, grace, strength, adamantine hardness, and robustness constitute bodily perfection. I immediately pictured like a 20-something surfer with rock hard abs. And then the next thing you read was the yogis take care of their body, but they accept whatever happens to be going on at the moment. So, which is to me a little different. They're different to me. I mean, one is like, well, you do what you can do, but you know, you're going to get old, you're going to get sick, certain things are going to happen. If you have a baby, you're going to develop a mama pouch, no matter what, all stuff like that, That's the second reading, which is kind of like, you do what you can do and you respect your body, but you accept what's coming along the road with it. And the first one is, bodily perfection, Unless what he really means by bodily perfection is it's perfect no matter where you are, just accept it,
Right.
I looked up the word, oh, sorry, Jackie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I looked up the word because I've never heard of this, adamantine. And it means unbreakable, if you don't know.
I didn't know.
It's often used in connection with jewels.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, metals and
yeah,
jewels.
Really hard shit, the stuff that you really can't break.
It's funny, I had a yoga teacher when I started doing yoga, a guy, one of the first yoga teachers, and he always had a lovely class, and he always said, you're perfect just the way you are. And I would kind of chuckle inside myself thinking, yeah, right. But he meant it, obviously, when he was saying it. And I remember thinking it was such a contradiction to what I believed, which is nobody's perfect. And that's okay that you're not perfect. Because I've always, struggled that kind of sense of wanting to be perfect, not wanting to be perfect in myself, but wanting things I do to be perfect. So that sense of perfectionism was always an obstacle for me. I had to fight. I had to kind of fight against that because it held me back. And it still does. It's still a problem. I have to, things don't have to be perfect. And then there's this, I've heard it multiple times now, reading different yogic texts and all the rest of it, that you are perfect the way you are. And it's such a it's such a I can't think of the word. How do those two things exist at the same time?
Mm.
That you are perfect just the way you are, but at the same time, nobody's perfect, and it's okay. We shouldn't be aiming for perfection. So, is it just that those two things are actually the same thing? We shouldn't be aiming for perfection, because the way we are, I tend to go with, rather than saying to myself, because I still don't. I guess I still chuckle at it. I still don't believe it. I don't say that I'm perfect the way I am, but I am enough. That resonates more with me. Whatever I am enough. And even that's sometimes hard to accept.
You know, I think the word, they might mean the same thing, especially if you view the word perfect as some set of external standards that are imposed on us, and you can't get away from them because we live in the center of them. They're always there. And even I was thinking back to when I was a kid, and a teacher who I liked would say the equivalent of, "Oh, that's really good, that's really good. Here's what you can do to make it better." As if, that's really good, that's really good. Wow, that's really good, but it's not perfect. You could do this and it could be better. And I do the same thing, Jackie. And in fact, one of my kids used to mock me. To this day, he still does. When he does something and he says, "Mom, how's this? Is this okay?" And I say, "Yeah, but could you?" And he said, "Oh, so you want it to be perfect." And
Right.
I think those external standards are always there, which is why we will never in our heads be perfect. We will never be good enough. And I like your use of the word enough to say, yeah, but it's enough. You want to do more? Okay, but this is just fine where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband has in his, I've told you before, I think he's far more evolved than I am. He's come to terms with good enough. And he grew up with two perfectionist parents. How the hell he turned out being somebody who can sit Zen-like without studying for years, I'll never know, But that's one of the things that makes him such a good psychotherapist, because he helps people to come to terms with, yeah, but here you are. And you know what? That's good enough. And if you're in pain, let's work on that. We can work on that. And some of the pain is just ongoing punishment for not being quote unquote good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jackie, I think in some ways they're the same thing. And what the struggle is to say, okay, I feel this judgment. Now I feel it, get through it, step back and move to, where are you really?
Yeah.
I think that's the struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sense it come, I told you guys, kitchen, isn't that nice? I look at it yesterday and it's pristine and empty because nothing's happened to it yet. And I woke up this morning thinking about all the things that I had to do, to restock, and put my stuff back and all that. And I know I'm worried about having it just right and perfect. And I thought, you need to make it to meditation this morning, because you are going to torture yourself over this essentially meaningless thing around this wonderful event,
Yeah.
So
I think that there can't be, like, I can see what Jackie's saying, because I'm constantly battling with yoga, and I'm like, it's like contradictory, right? Maybe that's the word we're looking for, but
Yeah.
like, we're saying we're perfect, but I can't get my head around that nobody's perfect. Maybe just like the phrase when we say we're all doing the best we can with the tools we have.
Right.
Maybe it's something like we are all perfect with as we are. Like maybe there's that other part of it, because I get that nobody's perfect, but how can you say nobody's perfect? Maybe there is a perfect out there, but what's the benchmark? Like, what are we comparing perfect to? So maybe it's not as contradictory as we think, because maybe it's just, as individuals we're perfect, and as a collective we're perfect as we are in that moment. I keep thinking back to that. I don't know if you guys were on the suture with the Abe Lincoln example where he didn't want to hire somebody because he didn't like his face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like maybe that just wasn't a really the best example in this sutra that he could have given. Because I'm like, but then we're judging people on not being perfect. Like, I get that.
I think he wasn't judging so much that he needed a face to be perfect, that he was seeing something underlying in the person's constitution, and it was coming through in his face.
Yeah.
I agree. To me, he was picking up
You
some
don't
vibes.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think
But then do
fair.
we need a constitution to be perfect? You know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody comes with their own flaws.
Yeah.
And you have to just, you don't have to, but you choose to accept that everybody comes with their own shit, you know, and you accept that about people, not expecting people to be perfect. You're not going to have the perfect friend or the perfect brother or the perfect sister. They come with their own stuff, and you accept them for who they are and go with it from there.
Maybe it's not, maybe like I'm thinking too much physical. Maybe when we act
physical,
booty,
yeah. And then we have, like you said, Susan, the first thought you had was this like surfer dude with the, you know, with the rock hard. We think that's perfection. Why do we think that's perfection? Because the media has made us, you know, the media portrayed that as perfection. There is no reason why we think that's perfection. You know, hundreds of years ago, that's not what they thought perfection was. So, you know, if you go back to sculptures and things like that, you know, so it's just what we've been conditioned to think physical perfection is. And as I always go back to being a teacher and being kids, because it's such a big part of my life, I had this one kid who needed to be perfect. And so our mantra in that class was, nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We don't have to be perfect. And she was like so shocked. You could see the shock. And I see it often with kids, that they think the teacher is perfect. And when you say to them, I'm not perfect, they go, oh, what? You know, kids do think the adult in their life that they've put on the pedestal, whether it be a parent or a teacher, and the teacher is put on a pedestal very often, must be perfect. No, I make mistakes. So there's got to be that line. I want to teach them, you are perfect just the way that you are. You yourself the way you are. But at the same time, we all make mistakes. We all screw up, and that's part of the perfection. I don't know how you bring that across to kids, but kids are always surprised when I say to them, I make mistakes, so that then all year they'll say to me, oh, you made a mistake, Mrs. Burton. Yeah, I did. I made a mistake, you know, because they love it that you admit that you make mistakes, you know, because there's something in them that thinks the grown-ups in their life don't make mistakes.
Well, that was my favorite thing about my first yoga teacher, is that she was human and not a perfect yoga, because even as an adult, I was doing it. Right. But I was also raised that the adult is always right, and listen to the elders, and children should be seen and not heard. So, and this was hard for me because like I'm not outspoken, but like I don't just sit back and keep my mouth shut when something's not right. So this was a conflict in my family very often. Like if I saw something my grandfather was doing that I didn't approve of at a very young age, I would say something, and nobody back talked to him. But I didn't care because that's not what I believe in. So I feel like when you're showing up to I could see how those children think that, Jackie, because when I would go in and to have such an honest adult and be like, no, adults do make mistakes. Like they're not perfect. Whereas I was raised that I wasn't even allowed to point out when I knew they were doing wrong.
Right.
And it's almost like I knew they weren't perfect, but I wasn't even allowed to say anything. So for an adult to put that sort of trust in a child, I think it's almost like a relief for them.
Right.
They're carrying around. Like you're telling them a truth they believe, but no one's really acknowledged it before.
Right. Yeah. Well, I also want,
but I also think that not every child is perfect. Like, how do we tell? And not every adult is either. This is saying like people that practice yoga and do the work can create this. But like a child that is acting out, like knowingly, like just for an attention reason, not someone that has like a intellectual disability that hasn't been, or someone that's had like neglect or something, but someone that's just doing it to be doing it. Like, how can you be like, you're being perfect right now? Like
right.
that, then it's not, then like there can't be, but I guess then they're not acting with beauty and grace and strength. So then I
Right.
guess that's fair. Okay.
Isn't it, but what would happen if we tried to ditch the external views of perfect and of doing it right? If you set it up just right, it will be perfect and everything will be okay. What would happen if we ditched that and said, but the reality, and how can reality be anything less than perfect? The reality is you're born with a certain temperament, you're raised in a certain household, you behave in a certain way, which may be displeasing or hurtful to other people at times. It may be great at other times. You use your body in certain ways, and that reality, just reality itself, is really what perfect is. It doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that you can't do better. But reality itself, you just sit back and breathe it in. It's perfect. If you're making a mistake, you think about it, and maybe with or without support or somehow, you look at it and you try to do something about it, and maybe you make a half step forward before you take your step backwards, because we all do, and then you make another 2 half steps forward. You know, I mean, a part of me thinks if the first thing that springs to mind is rock hard abs, that should be the absolute first thing I discard. Just because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's almost a cartoon, almost a
Right.
cartoon. And the you know, it's like watching the silicone pumped up real wives of wherever talk. You know, that is not real. That's not reality under any circumstances. And it's a cartoon. So,
Yeah.
okay, laugh at the cartoon, but you go back to your life, and your life is real. There'll always be weeds in the garden. No matter how strong I get, I'm always going to be ranging anywhere from really overweight to chubby, because that's my body type. That's what I do. I'm always gonna have to stop myself from saying this could, you know, if I did this, this would be better, and just sit back and say, take a breath. That looks pretty good. You know, and that, and to me, that's when I read this and when I think about it, I think this is the lesson I have to take away, and it's one powerful lesson, you know, which is step back, take a breath. Do not look at Martha Stewart's living when you're in the grocery store. And instead, watch the mom ahead of you as she interacts with her 2 little kids and manages to survive getting down the candy aisle without a tantrum. Now,
Aw.
there's perfection, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful, Sue. I think it's also something to take with you right into your kitchen today.
I better, because otherwise this should be a joyful experience. I mean, I should be throwing rice up in the air and saying, yay, congratulations, have a happy life kitchen.
I was thinking too, like, because you know that book of that Spark Joy author, Marie Kondo. I was thinking it's almost like a tidy process where you take everything out and have to put everything back in. So as you're putting back in, I know it's so silly, but like if you like talk and thank your items, you'll find their place and it all will work out. And if it takes you 3 times to put it all together, then it takes you 3 times. And that's part of the perfection of it, right? And I even love the idea of the mistakes. Like we can have perfect mistakes. Like I made a mistake. I said something that I wasn't comfortable with on a Zoom meeting. And afterwards I emailed everybody and I apologized. And no one felt offended by it, but I just didn't, it was that KISS phrase, you know, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't use the word stupid. And I should have said, keep it simple and straightforward. But it's just, you know, it's just like a phrase that I was taught in the business world. So but just because I was taught it that way doesn't mean I need to use it that way. So like I apologized after, and I felt like it was a mistake, and I moved on. And like I felt like the whole thing was just like perfect for me. Like it was just like,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
like it's over and done with. Somebody wrote back and was like, I understand the phrase, and I understand why you're apologizing, but it wasn't necessary, type of thing. But I wanted to do it more for myself, because like I wanted to stop, just like you want to stop with the abs and disregard it. Like I don't want to use that word. I don't use that word. I couldn't believe it even came out of my mouth. So it was like, let me just correct it here, so that it's like a lesson learned. Next time I won't, use it again.
But also the fact that you apologized, you then stopped beating yourself up. You said,
Yes.
yep, I made a mistake. I'm real sorry. Sorry, guys. And then that's it. And you close the door on it. I mean, obviously the door is not all the way closed, because here you are still talking about it.
Well, I just
But,
wanted to use it as an example as of a recent mistake.
well, for me, when that kind of thing happens, I still find myself that I'm still punishing myself a little bit. And I kind of have to take a deep breath and say, there you go again. And this is over. You can stop internally telling the story, maybe using it externally as an example, okay, but you can stop internally telling the story. You did it. You thought, oh, mistake. You said, okay, take a deep breath and go wash the bathroom floor or something. Do something else.
I really am over it, because I was proud of I had debated emailing or not, and I chose to email, and I did, and I felt much better. I could feel the release off of me, instead of like it was going to be in my head all week.
Yes, exactly.
So I just did it, and I'm like, let me just put it out there, and they can take it or leave it. It doesn't matter, but at least it'll make me feel better, like it was almost like a selfish apology. But yeah, I do think, Sue, the thing is I don't make that many mistakes. So it was just that one example I had to give you.
Okay, I'm going to remember that one. That was good.
I'm totally joking. I probably have made 6 mistakes just this morning, and I've only been up for like 90 minutes. So I probably have made 90 mistakes by now. I mean, I already hung up on you guys. There was a mistake. But it's fine.
Oh, well, that was funny.
Yeah.
It's funny when I read this, I'm like, we immediately thought of like all physical, but it's really just like internal.
And how often do we still berate ourselves for our physical? I'm not someone who's struggled with weight. I know lots of my sister is, and I know many people who do, and are always on diets of one kind or another. But during this shutdown, I've been a lot less active than I normally am. I'm not someone who exercises. I do yoga, but just my lifestyle is usually pretty active, and it's not been very sedentary. And usually during the summer, I become a bit more sedentary, right? Because I read a lot more. So I sit for hours and hours just reading. And now I'm feeling like I better get up and start moving, because I've gained weight. And I'm not somebody who gains weight. So that is just really unusual for me. I mean, I did when I was pregnant, enormous amounts of weight when I was pregnant. But normally I'm not. I kind of stay pretty much, the same. And I do enjoy eating, snacks. I love cake and pie and things like that. Those are my sweetness is my weakness, chocolate. So I guess I indulge too much, coupled with being very sedentary, and so I've gained weight. And now I'm feeling it when I practice yoga. I'm feeling a different body, and so I'm like, I think I need to try to lose this weight, and I don't really know how to go about it, except I better start getting moving again. I better go out and walk and do things and get myself moving. Otherwise, this feeling of not feeling quite right is going to stay with me.
Yeah, I think movement is so important for all of us, healthy or non-healthy. Yeah, and you probably don't realize how much you burn in your classroom just by standing, squatting, and whatever else all day long.
Because you're up and down all the time.
Yeah.
And this perfect storm for, you
Yeah.
know, anxiety and fear eating and just
Yeah.
being in the house all the time and
Yeah.
not moving. For me, I thought it was like stopping going to the gym, but it wasn't just that. It was all the things you do every day, which is just moving around.
Yeah.
And Jackie, I remember when I went back to graduate school after being a teacher for a couple of years. Oh my God. In addition to falling asleep in the library over books because I wasn't moving like you do when you're a teacher,
Right.
it was just it was like my body was thrust into this entire new environment, just like you have been. So
Right.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. My body's definitely, now that I'm taking the time to notice myself, my body is saying, what the heck have you done?
Yes. Yeah, right.
Oh, and you know, I still feel like I deserve that pie when I want it, you know, so I better start moving.
Oh yeah, we always deserve pie.
And it's not because I'm looking for perfection, although I guess there's a part of me that I'm looking at that belly and going, I don't want that there. But, where did that come? but you know, it'll either I'll get myself moving and it'll go away, or it won't, because I'm also I guess I'm 55, so I don't know if your body, once you've gained weight, if you lose it that easily. I don't know how that works anymore. So
I think once you pass 50, it is more difficult, but I also think it hasn't been that long. There were special circumstances.
yeah,
And if you get moving, like Pam is talking about the importance of movement, I think for you, that's going to be 65% of the battle. It's like my husband, you know, he's gained some weight over this, and he's usually 6'2" and muscular, and he works out and that kind of thing. But he too has had the same increased sedentary stuff going on and increased eating. So, and I look at him and I think, you know, but this guy, he's going to shed it, because even though he's 70, because that's his body type, etc. And Pam, I agree with you. Movement is really very important.
Yeah, movement. Regardless, like I've never been someone to diet or like have to so much watch my weight, but I'm definitely not as thin as, and this is something I had thought about over the last years, as when I was in high school or college, but I'm older now, and
Yeah.
I've always felt like, especially with this yoga practice, so like you could look at a picture of me when I was 21 and now 37, and you could be like, wow, you were so much skinnier back then, but I am so much stronger and healthier now.
Yep. Yep.
And it was no, like, I never had eating disorder. Like it wasn't that I was unhealthy back then. It was just a different body type for that time. Now it's like, I like to eat pizza and have a margarita and eat nachos and also plank every day. This is the body. And like,
right.
I don't, yeah, like, would I want to lose a few pounds? Sure. But I don't go moving for weight. I do it to stay healthy. And that mindset keeps me going every day. Otherwise, you beat yourself up, then it's like, oh, nothing's working, you know, like, then it's like, but if you stay with it, just like Sutra 114, you keep doing it every day, you know?
Yeah. And
I gotta go back and read
I have to think about it. I don't want to think about it as losing the belly. I want to, because I'm feeling not strong. I'm feeling, you know, I'm feeling like I don't have the stamina to get through yoga classes the way I would. I've changed my yoga practice. I wasn't doing much yoga when I was sitting at the computer for 10 hours doing remote learning for those 3 months, because I was too tired when I got up. You know, I might get up and do 10 minutes of stretching to stop the pain and stuff like that. But that was all I was doing. And by the time that was over, my back's been hurting so much that my yoga practice has completely changed, because I'm having to really be careful because my back hurts so much. So, but my back hurts so much because I've gotten like weak.
Well, and the way you were sitting at the desk and stuff.
Yeah. So I went to Micheline's friend, who's a chiropractor, yesterday, and she was awesome.
Okay, good.
She was really good. And, you know, said there's the tightness in one side because there's a weakness in the other side. And so I'm like, oh, now I've got a goal to work with. I've got to strengthen up this side. I've got to, you know, do some asymmetrical things and maybe not work both sides. Just work the one side that's got the weakness so that I can balance things back out again. So I've got a bit of a goal. maybe I can get myself back into a place where I feel strong again, because I
I
don't feel
hope you
strong.
do.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
will.
think you will.
It'll
think
just
you
take time.
Yeah. And
Just
do
like
it
it took
now.
time to get here.
Build
5
that
months
habit
have
now.
gone by without really realizing it. It was 3
Yeah.
months of you know, kind of sitting, doing nothing, just sitting and being stressed.
Well, we saw it in you, Jackie. I know I did. Like, you not moving, like, if however the school year looks for you next year, you have to find self-care for you every single day.
It's funny, I did a webinar yesterday with a teacher, you know, on how to start the school year, if we're starting remotely or if we're doing a hybrid, how do we still do what's right for children? And the first thing she said was, you have to double up on your self-care.
Yeah.
She said, I always say that we have to do self-care, because if our own cup's not full, you know, fine. But you have to double up on it, because this is taking a lot. It's taken a lot out of the adults in the people who are trying to do this stuff. It's taken a lot out of us. So she's right. So I also need to take my break from teaching. I don't need to do webinars every day. I've been doing it every day. I've been doing some kind of trying to learn.
So, Jackie, I have to say, this isn't the first time that you've said that you've been doing a lot of studying. And it's also not the first time you've said in this group, I have to take a break. I have to step away. So I'm wondering, when do you think you're going to do this?
I know, because I've got a series of webinars scheduled starting on Thursday, and then the following week we've got, my friend and I are doing double set of webinars in the morning and a set of webinars in the evening, because they look so good. They're talking about play and how you can still do play with children. Because this is our thing. My friend Mary Jane and I are like, we've got the pom-poms out in the school, in the district all the time. But what about play for the younger children? How are we putting that into the curriculum? We can't forget. We can't just do academics. Play is how they learn. And so this is our like rah, rah, rah thing. And so we're on all these blogs and all the rest of it for it. And so other people are thinking the same as us. This remote learning is going to be awful for these young children. Or distance learning, or whatever, staying 6 feet away from each other in the classroom. How do you still get them to play? So I've signed up, but these webinars, I've signed up for them. I don't have to attend every one. That's
well,
what I'm
not
saying.
only that, you could
Signed
stop.
up and said, we don't have to do every single part.
Yes, and you could stop on July 30th. You could say, I'm going to take 2 weeks where I'm signing off. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything.
Right.
Because I've found if I even reach out and touch it, I'm gone. Because this stuff is, in a somewhat different area, this stuff is fascinating and it's so necessary. And I applaud you for being the play cheerleader in your district. That is so important for little kids. I despair when I see second graders at a desk all day.
I know.
Much less, forget preschoolers. You should see the stuff they wanted us to do in Head Start. Oh my God, no, that's not how kids learn when they're 4 or 3.
No.
And so I applaud you. But you have to, you're an adult who needs to play too. So you need to play, and playing means letting go of the shoulds.
Well, and Jackie, I think too, and maybe I'm overstepping here, but I find myself, like, I have an injury in my ankle and I don't want to deal with it, and I can't walk. So like, it's making me not have the movement. I can practice yoga, thankfully, but I can't do my 2-mile walk, and I don't want to deal with it. So I avoid it. And so I dig deep into making myself busy elsewhere. So maybe now that you have this path with the chiropractor and things to focus on, you can come back to your self-care.
Right.
Maybe it was like a type of an avoidance. You were like, I don't want to deal with my body right now. I'll just make myself busy. So maybe just like let the webinars be the reward for the self-care every day. So like if you have your whatever 30 minutes, whatever it is of your self-care, your movement, and then you get to do the webinar,
right.
Let it be the reward and not the work.
Right.
Let the self-care be the work and make that the priority.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it done for the day, then you don't get the reward. You don't get the ice cream webinar.
Right.
You know, we have to trick ourselves just like we have to trick the children
Yeah.
into finding their way.
That's very interesting, Pam. I'm gonna try that. I got to think about how to tweak it for myself so that I do more of the self-care stuff, which would be really good for me right now. Because the past 3 weeks, I haven't done enough. And so you're right. I got to make the self-care the work, and then everything else is playtime.
Yeah. Like let your kitchen be the playtime, and you get your self-care done, and then you get to go spend an hour putting your kitchen together, and then however that looks,
Or whatever.
you create it for yourself.
Yep, you're right.
You hold yourself accountable, and by telling others, like, we can start a text thread, or like I use my daily plank group. You don't have to plank every day in there. Like Selena was doing biking for 21 days, and she used that group. You know, like if you need to hold yourself accountable, that's why I started that group. It's not necessarily for plank. Your plank could be sleep like whatever your plank looks like. So if you need to hold yourself accountable there, we can use that group more, whatever it takes. But I'm going to start us on breath because I need to end.
Okay.
I have to go back to doing my multitasking for the day.
Yeah.
But I need this grounding 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing. I'll lead you through 3 rounds, and then I'll set the timer. If you want to continue on or do a different breath for you, whatever you need today. I know Sue's outside, so she hears all of nature. I'm not going to play music.
I'm gonna mute me because it's not nature. It's the guys with their lawn care stuff. Can you?
I'm going to mute you. I was just going to say I took a meditation last night, and there was a music link, and I've never thought to meditate with music, and it was so nice for me in that moment. It might not work for you today, but just a reminder that it's out there. So sitting up nice and tall, beginning to bring your attention inward, breathing in and out through the nose. If you need to take a few exhales through the mouth to let it go for it. Beginning to lengthen the breath as you inhale, filling up the low belly, expanding the belly button. And then exhale, bring the belly button down to the spine, let all the air out. Our left palm will stay rested in our lap. We'll bring our right palm up. We'll be closing our right nostril with our right thumb and our left nostril with our right ring finger. We'll take 3 rounds together. You'll finish on your left side, and if you want to keep going, you'll keep going. Close right, inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Namaste. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy the kitchen and self-care.
You're an inspiration, Pam. Thank you very much.
Yes.
As are you.
Yeah.
All of
Have a
it.
good night, everybody. Bye.